Greetings, I'm Hellhound, and welcome back to my show. Last night I reviewed the Evil Dead trilogy, Evil Dead 1 and 2, and Army of Darkness, and I feel like it was really late at night, and I feel like I kind of rushed them. I feel like I didn't really do them all justice. I was kind of in a hurry to get them done. I feel like, to have any credibility as a horror reviewer, those are movies you have to do. That's the same reason I did, all the Jasons and my favorite of the Freddys and Halloweens and whatnot. I definitely wanted to do them. It wasn't like I didn't want to do them. Evil Dead 2 is my favorite movie ever made, and the whole trilogy, it's like one of my most favorite, horror series of all time. And so, but I just feel like I kind of rushed it, didn't really do it justice. I feel like it kind of deserved better. I guess they turned out okay, but I did make some mistakes here and there. I said Army of Darkness came out in 1982 at the beginning of my Army of Darkness video. I know it's 1992. It's not like I actually thought that. Sometimes my brain is thinking something different than actually what I actually say out loud. I did the same thing in my Friday the 13th Part 7 review. I referred to it as Part 6, The New Blood. Obviously I know which one it is. Sometimes, it's akin to a typo. You didn't mean to say it, but it was just an accident. Because I did mention later on in the video that it was 1992. I know very well when it came out, so if some moron's gonna, watch it and say, hey, it wasn't 82, I know that it didn't come out 1 year after the original, and before Evil Dead 2, that'll just be moronic. I remember when it came out. I was really young, but I remember seeing it on video in the store and thinking, wow, that looks awesome, before I actually got to check it out years later. Yeah, Army of Darkness was in 1992. I apologize. I do make mistakes sometimes. I wish I could edit that out, though, because I'm just afraid somebody's going to misinterpret that and think I actually, got the year wrong. But, I know this stuff. Sometimes it just, make mistakes. So, yeah, I wasn't really totally satisfied with the way this video's turned out. But, I don't know. I guess it was okay. I was kind of in a rush to get those out of the way so I can move on to other things. There's just certain horror movies you have to do, as I said, to be a credible reviewer. And so I wanted to kind of move on to more obscure movies eventually. That's not what I'm going to do today. But before I start, I want to get one more thing out of the way. I did see Terminator Genesis recently, and I've been a huge fan of the Terminator series all my life. God, that was probably one of the first movies I was obsessed with as a youth, especially the first two, which are just fantastic. Terminator Genesis, I was left a little disappointed. It was kind of a convoluted mess. Time travel always gives me a headache, but here it was just done, it was a little too complex. There were things that straight up didn't make sense. Holes in the story. With time travel, you're always going to suspend disbelief, because there's always going to be, inconsistencies and things that are just like, what? I really hate time travel. I really do. It's too, for someone with such an analytical mind, it's just a little too much. Unless it's Back to the Future or the Terminator series, I usually, really not into time travel. It just really drives me nuts. But, I just have to tell myself it's only a movie, it's supposed to be entertaining, it's not supposed to be, taken too seriously, but the first two Terminators being masterpieces, Genesis had a lot to live up to, and I think some things were handled very well. It definitely had some better elements. There were some things I really, really liked, and hidden, somewhere in there was a great story that was worthy of calling it a Terminator film, but I feel like they messed up a little too much, and they tried to overcomplicate things. But anyway, I'm probably going to review all the Terminator movies eventually. Not anytime soon, but they're favorites of mine, so I'm definitely going to get to that. And then I'll talk more about Genesis, and I want to establish myself as, I want you guys to see how big of a fan I am before I talk about that movie. But anyway, I've already wasted enough time talking about that. Today, right now, as of this moment, I have no idea what movie I'm going to review. Obviously, you know what movie I'm going to review, because after I film it and upload it, I'm going to, that's going to be the title, whatever movie, review. So you guys know what movie it is, but I don't. I'm literally going to look through my library and pick out a movie. I'm going to try to make it quick, though, because I've already talked too much during this video. I'm reaching the 5-minute mark and I haven't started a review yet. Let's see here. Oh, I know. I got a good one for you guys. How about The Burning from 1981. This is a really good slasher film. Very good 80s horror movie, akin to, summer camp massacres. Slasher 80s slashers are really common at that time, akin to Friday the 13th and Sleepaway Camp. This movie seems like kind of a ripoff of the Friday the 13th series. Friday the 13th Part 2, I think, came out just like, I don't know, earlier that same year in 1981. And I think this movie was heavily inspired by it, and probably the first movie as well. The main villain's kind of similar to Jason, but it really tells its own story, and there's enough unique twists and turns to really call it its own. I wish it could have had a sequel. I could have wished that Burning could have been made into a series. Because the villain is really cool. He's very interesting. He has a different backstory than Jason, that's for sure. And it could have easily became a good slasher series. But, we only got one of them, and it's a standalone, so, and it's very good. It's one of my favorites. And there, as I said, there are things that, became kind of a staple of the slasher genre, a certain formula that this movie, The Burning, actually deviated from, which I'll get to in a minute. All right, well, let's start with the plot. Okay, so Cropsey, that's the only name he's given, played by Lou David. He's a caretaker at the summer camp where this takes place. I can't remember the name of the camp at the moment, but, it's not too important. It's not Camp Crystal Lake or Camp Arawak, so it's, it's a different camp than those, but it's still pretty similar, the cabins in the woods and everything. But, yeah, he's a caretaker, and a bunch of kids play a prank on him. They have they put like a skull with some candles in it, like a fake skull with some candles, it looks really nasty looking, covered in worms and stuff, next to his bed, and it drops, and the candle, it starts a fire, and Cropsey ends up being burned to death. The whole place just goes up in flames, and Cropsey is left severely burned and disfigured. So, I believe it's like maybe 10 or 20 years later. Yeah, I didn't really prepare for this review because I just now decided this is what I was going to review. So I hadn't researched it. I haven't watched it recently, and I wasn't prepared. So, maybe it was only 5 years later, actually. I don't know. Years go by, and he's been, in the hospital ever since, treated for his, his injuries, probably third-degree burns all over his body. He was just scorched beyond recognition. One of the people who works there, like a nurse or something, even tells us, this other guy's like, you got to see this guy. He's burned really, really bad. He's something of an urban legend around here. It's just, his burn scars are just, very well known and just legendary now. They're infamous. And so, Cropsey's finally released. And the beginning, this part takes place in a big city, which I thought was cool. Before he goes back to the summer camp, and he tries to, I guess, hire a prostitute, and she sees him, and she's totally disgusted and freaked out. She's just terrified. She's like, oh my god, stay away from me. That's kind of, I'm pretty sure it kills her too. As I said, it's been kind of a while since I watched this. I probably should have had it fresh in my mind. But again, I just picked a random DVD off the shelf, so I'm just kind of going by, I think I've seen it enough times to do a review justice, but there might be a few things that are missing, which I'm okay with. I wasn't okay with the mistakes I made in the Evil Dead trilogy videos, but this one, I'll let it slide, because I'm not as huge of a fan as The Burning as I am Evil Dead 2. But anyway, so he returns to the summer camp, seeking revenge, Another thing I'm not really clear on is if it's the same kids that are still there. I wouldn't think so. That would be kind of too much of a coincidence. All the same kids are there, grown up now, or older, like teenagers. But it's not a crazy age range like it is in Sleepaway Camp with really young kids and then older kids look like they're older campers look like they're in their 30s. But I'm not really sure. I think it may be one or two, because I think the main guy, what's his name? Brian Matthews, I think is the actor's name. I think he might have been there, because he seems to remember it, or seems to at least know about it. It's at least like, it's become kind of a campfire tale. They sit around the camp and tell the legend of Cropsey, the former janitor who was burned alive, and just barely survived. All it being burned beyond recognition. Anyway. Well, the important thing is he wants revenge, he's pissed off, so he takes a bunch of garden shears and he starts killing people one by one. It becomes a basic slasher movie from there on out. You kind of feel bad for Cropsy in a way, but apparently he was really mean and cruel. I think he was, to the kids, before. I think he was like, it's a bit of a jerk, and so, he still didn't deserve that, I'm sure, but, he was never really a good person to begin with, I don't think. But now he's just a total insane killer. And so, yeah, he takes the garden shears, some pretty cool deaths in this one. Jason Alexander, who's best known for his role as George Costanza from Seinfeld, is in this movie. Young Jason Alexander, he was thinner and had more hair back then. It's pretty cool seeing him. I'm not really too familiar with any of the other actors in this one, but I don't really know all their names or anything or what else they were in. But they're interesting enough, I guess. It's some of the usual bad acting. There's a skinny dipping scene. A lot of elements, key elements that become something you'd expect from a slasher movie. But it does break the mold a little bit, and in order to get to that part, I'm going to have to reveal some spoilers. So spoiler alert here. What kind of breaks away from the formula is where, for one thing, there's a bunch of kills that are off screen that take place at once, and like these people on a boat, they're like all the campers on a boat, and they go up and they find another boat filled with dead bodies who've just been massacred and just chopped to bits by the garden shears. It didn't really show that massacre happen. There's some great blood and gore in this one too. Some pretty inventive kills and some, definitely a lot of good violence, for gorehounds. And another thing is, like, there's not really a final girl this time. The main character's a male, and he's not the last one to survive. There's actually a few survivors. There's some campers we don't really ever see again. We just know they didn't die, but they're somewhere around. I guess they fled. And then this guy goes to save another guy who's being held prisoner, by Cropsy. Cropsy is holding him captive in one of the cabins. So that was a little different. It's instead of a guy going to rescue a girl, it's a guy going to rescue another guy. I'm sorry, I don't know their names. As I said, I don't know as much about this movie as I do some of the others. But I just remember being very pleased by it, and I have watched it enough times, I think, to call myself a big fan. And so, yeah, no final girl. The main, the survivor is a guy who, again, isn't the only survivor. A lot of other people managed to escape their lives. So that was a little different. They managed to mix it up and keep it interesting. I think it was kind of refreshing seeing that after, so I've seen so many early 80s slashers who, that a lot of them kind of seem to just blend in with one another. This kind of seemed the same, but this is definitely one of the better ones, right up there with, Sleepaway Camp and the Friday the 13th series, of course, and some of the good ones like Happy Birthday to Me and Hell Night, I guess. New Year's Evil. There's a lot of good ones, a lot of really good ones. I mean, I could, I should probably make a video about, all the slasher movies I've seen. It would end up being really long. But yeah, it's a great movie. I'll definitely recommend it. If you like early 80s slasher films that take place at a summer camp, there's actually quite a bit of those, and this is definitely one of the better ones. It may be kind of a Friday the 13th knockoff, but it definitely is original enough, that would, will keep you invested in the story, and, and you'll be pleasantly surprised by it, I think you'll be pleased, watching this one. Alright, well, that pretty much completes my review of The Burning from 1981. It's directed by Tony Maylam. I don't know I'm not familiar with his other work. I'm sure if I look him up, I'll find that he's done something else that I know about, but I'm just not, the name doesn't ring a bell at the moment. But yeah, earlier what I said about the Evil Dead trilogy, the other show that I do, is not Hellhound's Reviews, but Dead Level Discussions. That's the other show I do with my buddy Spellbinder. Me and him just kind of sit there and discuss some of our favorite things. We recently did a Christopher Lee appreciation, rest in peace, and a Star Wars tribute, and most recently we did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which we're both a huge fan of. We're both huge fans of Evil Dead, and Bruce Campbell and the Ash character, and we're both thrilled to see Ash vs. Evil Dead, the upcoming TV series, where Bruce Campbell's going to return as Ash. Sam Raimi's on board. We're seeing what Ash is up to all these years. He's going to, return to battle the Deadites with his trusty boomstick. Yeah, I'm just totally thrilled for that. I'm just psyched for it. But me and him are going to do a video about the Evil Dead franchise. Maybe even talk about the remake a little bit, too. I should probably watch it first and reevaluate my opinion on it. I appreciate that it definitely took it back to its horror roots. It made it scary again. But other than that, I wasn't too impressed by it. It wasn't as good as the original trilogy. Mostly because it was missing Bruce Campbell, I guess. He's what really makes this the series so great, at least for me. But it's a great storyline as well. And yeah, we're going to make a whole video about the Evil Dead. We're just going to have an Evil Dead discussion, and I feel like I'll be able to kind of redeem myself for, not being able to do those 3 movies justice like I thought. I mean, they might have turned out okay. Maybe I should watch them, but I'm not happy with the mistake I made saying Army Dynamite is an 82, which I know clearly is a 92, but I don't want people to get the wrong idea. And, so yeah, we're going to do an Evil Dead video, and I think I'll be satisfied with that, since I kind of screwed up the trilogy just a little bit. But, anyway, well, I didn't know I was going to review The Burning today, this morning, but I did, and, well, I recommend this movie. Sorry about all that I kind of polluted this video, too much talks about my Evil Dead videos and the future of my show, but, I think I talked enough about the Burning to qualify as the Burning review video. So, well, I'm Hellhound, and thank you for watching my show, and until next time.